So I don't want you to think it's going to be a cold snap. It's not going to get terribly cold, but we are going to experience rain, and it's going to get driven in on a cold front that is coming down from up here. Let's take a look at what's coming our way and time this out. The weekend is great, by the way. There is no rain coming this weekend, and the temperatures are even going to cool down a bit. More on that coming up in a second when we get to the 7-day, but I want to get to the thing that is a little more interesting and a little more complicated. There's the cold front. Look at that beautifully outlined line of rain. Comes in Monday right there. And then another one comes in behind it on Tuesday. Those are two separate fronts that are going to sweep through the bay. Really, if you want to be technical about this, part of the same larger storm. And you can see the center of it up here. So you've got your area of low pressure, which will be sitting way up here. But what this thing's going to be able to do on Monday with a cold front, Tuesday with another cold front, the Tuesday cold front actually might tap into a very weak atmospheric river here. Now, these terms all sound way more dramatic than they need to, because this atmospheric river is not going to be intense. It's not going to have a whole lot of rain with it, but it will be noticeable rain. And it's just interesting to start redefining how these storms are put together for us as they approach, as we get into winter. One more way to look at this. I mentioned there's a cold front coming through here. Let's visualize that for a second. So if we know this is coming down from the Gulf of Alaska, we put the temperature profile on here and watch this wall of darker blue arrive by the time we get towards Monday. That boundary, where you've got the colder air here, the warmer air out front, that boundary right there is where this thing could spark a couple of thunderstorms. So even though this is way more like fall than it's like last week's rain, where we just had, random thunderstorms spread out across the bay for like a day and a half, this one will have some thunderstorms as well, but they're going to come in on that leading line. Let me show you what it looks like in the future cast. Let's get a little more specific on this and time this out. We'll pull in the forecast imagery behind me. This is European models. Look at this storm. And it's gotten more refined now than it was yesterday. So we're getting more confidence and we're getting more detail. So let's time that out. Take a look at the timestamp up here. This is Monday morning. Here's your cold front. I know it doesn't look as beautifully well outlined as it did on the big picture on the virtual map, but that's it. And as this comes in on Monday, along this line, maybe a few isolated thunderstorms. Shouldn't be too many of them. You might see a few there. That's the start. Then that first one goes through. There's your line again. Now we're taking a look at going into Tuesday, and that's clearing early in the morning. Watch the next one then come in behind it right there. That's the one where we were looking at the atmospheric river, which wants to reach down into the subtropics and bring us a little more rain, but it won't really be able to deliver a whole lot of rain from that atmospheric river. Instead, it'll deliver fairly light, moderate, very manageable, and more than anything else, welcome, beneficial rain. We need to start putting some rain on the landscape. And if we can tap into a weak little atmospheric river to help do that, let's do it. So that'll go with us through Wednesday, and then by Thursday, we're done. How much rain might we get? Remember, that was a 3-day period, Monday into Wednesday. Now look at the totals. And for 3 days of rain, this is not a lot. Maybe on the high end, the North Bay comes away with a ½ inch of rain, and everybody else gets maybe 1/10 or 2/10 of an inch of rain. Maybe we're at about 3/10 of an inch for the city. So this is not a whopper of a storm, but it's the first good widespread noticeable one that we will have had for the season. It's kind of a good way to kick things off. Let's look at the 7-day forecast. This was the last day in the 90s. Inland microclimate. Your numbers today are low 90s. Tomorrow you're going down to low 80s. Sunday's great. A lot more marine layer on Sunday, by the way. We'll wake up Sunday morning and we'll get more marine layer gray. Tomorrow you won't have any of that. Plenty of sunshine all day tomorrow. And then the interesting stuff back here, which we just outlined, and it's done by Thursday. We'll clear it out, and I don't have any rain in the forecast after that. And we also don't have to go through any big fall warm-ups, which is still possible, by the way. And just in closing on this, even though that's our first good cold front of fall going into early October, that means we still have another 4 weeks. We could very easily go into another round of significant heat through the month of October. It gets less likely, but we're not done with that possibility yet.